With all sports in Canada and the United States and most of the world on lockdown, Major League Soccer has taken to streaming classic matches on their YouTube page. While it's not an ideal situation, having to have the league season postponed, this is at least pushing Major League Soccer to acknowledge its history, which is valuable if nothing else. MLS, I think, unfortunately has some shame over the first maybe 15 years of its existence. Now, they've done some good in recent years in producing small documentary series and showing highlights from classic matches on the YouTube page, but nothing at this level before. The high-quality broadcast full match tapes of great classic games has never really been available to fans from MLS officially for years, and it's good that newer fans are going to be able to take this opportunity to see some of the matches that make up MLS lore. This is a league in its 25th season that's kind of in an interesting situation with regards to its history. When you look back at 2019's attendance numbers, you'll see that all but 2 of the top 10 clubs, attendance-wise, joined MLS in 2009 or later. That is a lot of history that a big chunk of fans just weren't around for. There are a few great games that have broken through the icy sheet of deep MLS history. You have the Earthquakes' comeback against LA in 2003 during the playoffs, David Beckham's debut at MetLife Stadium in 2007, which also coincidentally served as a coming-out party for a teenager named Josmer Altidore, the ridiculous added extra time of the 2006 MLS Cup, but there are many lesser-known, lesser-talked-about matches of history that we don't really think about that often, or really even hear about that often from MLS. While there are so many great Cali Clásicos and playoff matches that might carry us through some of April, I have to assume that MLS is going to have to start digging a little deeper in the coming weeks to find some classic matches to show. So what I'm looking for in this video are the weird, the extraordinary, the matches that slipped through the cracks. I'm Joe Bush. This is MLS. (1998) Los Angeles Galaxy 7, Colorado Rapids 4. 11 goals. 1 match. 3 from Kobe Jones, 2 from Welton Araujo Melo, 2 from Mauricio Cienfuegos, 2 from Waldir Saenz. Aside from the fact that a record is set in this match, probably the most interesting thing just looking at the box score from this match was the frequency at which goals were scored. There are multiple instances in this game where we have 2 goals scored 5 or fewer minutes apart from each other. And then there are 2 8-minute spans in this match that feature 3 goals. It's an MLS record, 11 goals in 1 match, that I really doubt, especially now that defenses are, pretty good, will ever be broken again. And I think it would be fun just to see this massive goal-scoring explosion on YouTube. 2000, Metro Stars 6, Dallas Burn 4. This match actually is second place in terms of the record for most total goals scored in 1 match, but most importantly, this match features probably the best individual performance from a single player in Major League Soccer history. Clint Mathis scores 5 in this match. The 5th is a penalty, but still, the point remains. Mathis was a fascinating MLS player. He was a mercurial domestic talent at the time when the league was desperate for young, great American players. But he had this kind of villainous role that he played so well, and he doesn't really get the love that a lot of his contemporaries do. There is some footage of this match online from MLS, uploaded in 2007 YouTube quality, but it would be wonderful to see the way that Mathis both dominates Dallas and then stokes the Cotton Bowl crowd again, if it's possible. 2015, Sporting Kansas City 4, Vancouver Whitecaps 3. Okay, I know it's pretty recent, but I had to throw one great sporting match into the pile here. Vancouver in this match races out to a 2-0 lead. Kevin Ellis makes it 2-1 just after half, but the Caps effectively shut the door in the 75th with a Pedro Morales free kick. But then in the 80th, Dom Dwyer scores, then Paulo Nagamura only 6 minutes later brings it level, and then in the 93rd, Nagamura scores again in one of the most impressive and memorable comebacks, not only in Sporting KC history, but in MLS history, in front of probably one of the best eras of the Sporting KC cauldron as well. I moved into an apartment the night that this match happened, and unfortunately I didn't get to see the match because my complex hadn't set up cable for my unit yet, but I remember the guy upstairs had it on, and I could hear after the first Nagamura goal just like stomping and yelling coming from my neighbor. I was only following via like the Reddit thread. I know my dad left after that third Vancouver goal, but yeah, it's a fascinating match from history. It's an amazing one to watch, and I think it would be great for a lot of new fans to be able to see this happen in real time again. 2001, Tampa Bay Mutiny 4, Los Angeles Galaxy 4. Big Mama, Mamadou Diallo, a man whose career spanned 12 different countries. Major League Soccer was lucky to have him for the 4 years that we had him, and my God, even as the Tampa Bay Mutiny were practically on life support in the first 2 years of the new millennium, he somehow still had that superstar mentality and style. He infamously had a clause in his contract where he earned more money for every 5 goals that he scored, so he had a bit of an easy trigger finger. This match in particular is fascinating because he himself scores 4 in the match to manage a draw between Tampa Bay in their final season where they'd earn only 14 points, and Los Angeles, who would actually finish first in the West. This was at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, where the Buccaneers play, in front of 6,000 people. I can understand why MLS would want to pretend that this match, or just the history of the Mutiny in general, didn't happen, but still, in a league with so many fascinating personalities who also had to play in this frustrating, anemic period in the league in front of these, like, speckled little crowds, it'd be good to give them a little bit of recognition now that we can. 1998. Dallas Burn 3, Chicago Fire 2. This had a nuts second half in the Cotton Bowl during Chicago's first season in Major League Soccer. Dallas and Chicago had a number of really interesting matches in the late 1990s and early aughts, and it actually developed into the first ever MLS rivalry that had a trophy passed between the winners of these matches, and it developed not out of a proximity, but out of a lot of intense, important matches like this one I'm referencing. It was called the Brimstone Cup because at the time both clubs had fire themes in their names. This particular match is unique because due to the countdown clock used at the time, Zarco Rodriguez's game winner is a rare example of a buzzer beater in professional soccer. He scores the winning goal with 3 seconds left to win the game. It's like MLS's equivalent of the Dame Lillard shot against Houston. It's a really unique thing to come out of this league in the early years, and it was the catalyst for what would become one of the most unique rivalries in league history. And I think a lot of new fans would be really interested to see the way that this league developed, see these early years. I think we're far enough along now that those weird idiosyncrasies of the early years should be respected or appreciated, or at least acknowledged a little bit more than they have. And what better way to do that with the countdown clock than to see a literal soccer buzzer beater? How many times have we seen that ever? I mean, it's just very rare and very interesting. So those are 5 interesting matches that Major League Soccer could potentially consider showing in the coming weeks, so we can all combat the quarantine onset by the COVID-19 epidemic. Hopefully in the near future we'll be able to get back into MLS stadiums and watch soccer again. I know the date that MLS has set is May 10th. I'm kind of skeptical that we're ever going to see that actually come back in the way that we would want to see soccer come back, but you know what, it's a desperate time, it's a difficult time, and hopefully by the end of it we can all kind of join hands and come back to our beloved soccer teams and start watching this sport again. You know, I do miss it. I recognize why stuff has had to stop, but man, do I miss it, and I'm sure everybody watching this does too. So hopefully a little bit of a history lesson from Major League Soccer themselves could potentially help us brave this storm in the coming weeks.